Hello and welcome to Diversity in La La Land, the podcast where we look at some of the most influential films to ever grace the silver screen and their strides in diversifying movies and TV. I'm your host, Rosemary Passavant, freshman year college student and huge film buff. So we're currently living the plot of a pandemic movie, what with the COVID-19 interrupting our work and school lives. However, with the orders from the White House and on to stay quarantined in our homes, we've got plenty of time to catch up on our Netflix and Hulu watching. And speaking of Hulu, that brings us to our main topic today. Hulu has just released on their streaming platforms Parasite. If you're not familiar with the film, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it to start us off. Parasite is a dramatic thriller released this past November 2019 and follows a poor family that conned their way into becoming the servants of a rich family. However, greed and class discrimination threaten the fake relationship and, obviously, tension and conflict arise. Now, there are a couple of things that are really special about this movie. First off, the film is South Korean, so the director, most of the actors and setting are obviously South Korean as well. The director, and please forgive me if my southern accent absolutely butchers this, Bong Joon-ho, both directed, produced, and wrote the story screenplay for the film. Along with this film earning Joon-ho the Best Director and Screenplay Award at the most recent Academy Awards, Parasite also won the Best International Feature Film. Perhaps the most exciting thing, however, is that the film also won the coveted Best Picture Award. This is the first non-English speaking film in history to ever earn this award, let alone being the first South Korean nominee ever. Along with the Oscars, Parasite also earned the Golden Globe for Best Motion Picture and was named the Best Picture of 2019 by the National Society of Film Critics. Okay, so first off, why I think this film is important as far as diversity and representation go. For starters, this film represents something that, as Americans, we certainly usually wouldn't get to see. This film explores class distinctions specifically in South Korea, and it does a great job of it. Now, I attribute that to the actors and directors since it's something that they have knowledge on, but it's something that most Western audiences don't get to see. We've got our own levels of poverty and class distinction in modern America, but how do we differ? How can we see how other cultures function? We could certainly travel and see, but I don't know about you, as a poor college kid, I certainly don't have enough money for that. The movie Parasite, however, lets me see into this world and gives me a narrative and characters to sympathize or loathe and allows me to see struggles and triumphs from an insider's view. Not only that, but it allows me to see cultures represented in a way that isn't watered down or changed to fit my own agenda or someone else's agenda. I live in a place that doesn't have a lot of different cultures. Pretty much every stranger I interact with on a daily basis has a similar lifestyle or past. Now, of course, if I lived in a bigger city or area, that bubble could get a lot bigger, but I still don't know how many people I would come in contact with that were completely different from me. That's what makes Parasite and other foreign films so great. With inclusion in our movie theaters and streaming services, I'm able to see other lifestyles and cultures with ease. Without ever stepping foot on an airplane, I can see other cultures and lives through both narrative-based films and documentaries, or crazy good films like Parasite. My own opinions aside, what this movie accomplished as far as mainstream films go is pretty extraordinary. Being the first foreign film ever to win the Best Picture Oscar, after 92 years, mind you, is great. For some background, here's just a little bit of history on the subject. The first Academy Awards ceremonies from 1929 to 1946 did not have sections devoted to non-English speaking films. Of course, there were movies and actors during this time that weren't strictly American, but if the film was not in English, it was not getting nominated. Between 1947 and 1955, honorary Oscars were given to notable foreign films. For the 1956 Oscars, an award known as the Best Foreign Language Film was given, and since then, the award has been given out every single year. Now, why was it so special that Parasite won this year? Well, for one, when the nomination list came out, the main criticism people had was that it was, well, not diverse enough. In fact, the only non-white actor nominated was Cynthia Erivo for the movie Harriet, a film about the life of Harriet Tubman. This, along with the fact that a lot of the critically acclaimed films this year, Us, Hustlers, The Farewell, and Queen and Slim, and a few others starring people of color, weren't nominated at all. Another shock of this year's list was that there were no woman directors nominated, but that's a discussion for another day. So at that point in the year, most critics and those who usually try to guess Academy Award winners had determined that the biggest competition for Parasite was Joker. Another great film in its own right, clear by Joaquin Phoenix's Best Actor win. I still think that it's better Parasite came out on top. Both films delve into topics surrounding class and whether society suffers from those on top having too much. The difference in the two, however, is that we know Joker's outcome. That's what gives it its popularity. We know in the end he's going to be Batman's arch nemesis, and that is a great story. It gives us many opportunities to view him as a sympathetic character. But it's exaggerated compared to Parasite. It's a comic book villain after all. Parasite is more nuanced in its story and performance, which is what I think earned them the Oscar. Something that I'm not sure would have guaranteed them the win in the past. To help me elaborate Hollywood's new views on representation, I've got with me Lily Wright. Lily is a friend of mine and a fellow film buff who is currently pursuing a career in the field. Now, due to the coronavirus, she's speaking to me via phone call, so I'm sorry if it's a little bit fussy.
Hi, Lily. Thank you so much for talking with me today. So I've been talking a little bit about the film Parasite and its recent Oscar win. So what do you think that this kind of recognition of a foreign film says about representation?
I think it says that we've come a long way since literally 10 years ago in the film industry. I think that a foreign film winning an Oscar, especially Best Picture, would have been unfeasible back then.
Yeah.
And so I think it says that we're coming a long way, and I think that is really exciting.
I agree. Do you think that Hollywood is starting to include more diverse storylines? Because I know you were mentioning 10 years ago, it's kind of crazy to think about.
Oh, yeah. The thing that I think is really cool about that is not only are we starting to introduce the more diverse people in storylines, Hollywood is really trying to push the boundaries. We now have shows like Euphoria and 13 Reasons Why that are showing the sides of life that, to a point where it's causing controversy. And I think that that is really cool in a way, but I also think that it might lead to some issues in the industry later on down the road because actors are being forced to do a lot more than they used to be.
What kind of diverse storylines do you hope to see in the future?
I mean, we've seen pretty much everything, I feel like. I mean, there's nothing that you can't find, it seems. I personally really enjoy storylines about people coming up from the bottom just because I relate to that. And I think it's good to represent the lower class on film so that way people can kind of get what really goes on because some people are really oblivious to that, and I think it's important.
That's a really good point. I agree. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today. I know this was a little bit of an awkward setup, but thank you so much for talking with me.
Alrighty, so that just about wraps us up. Thank you so much for listening. You can find Diversity in La La Land podcast on my YouTube channel and SoundCloud, all under the name Rosemary Passavant, as well as my Google Drive account, which is where I believe most are listening. Thank you again, and everyone stay healthy out there.